Cataclysm by Lydia Kang, the final adult novel in Phase 2 of the High Republic, comes out on April 4th. I got the chance to read the book early, so here is my spoiler-free review. The short version is that it's easily my favorite book of Phase 2 so far, and I think it's on par with all of the Phase 1 novels. Phase 2 all takes place 150 years earlier than Phase 1. That was a decision that caused some raised eyebrows when it was first announced. Fans worried that it might disrupt the momentum established by Phase 1. While I enjoyed Path of Deceit quite a bit, the first wave of stories did feel different to me. I think the entire structure of Phase 2 is meant to be different. I put down the first adult novel, Convergence, and I thought it was okay, but not as exciting and heart-pounding as Light of the Jedi, The Rising Storm, or The Fallen Star. But for all three of my Wave 1 book reviews, I speculated that each of them were the first part of their respective stories. I thought Path of Deceit, Quest for the Hidden City, and Convergence would all be the setup, and then Path of Vengeance, Quest for Planet X, and Cataclysm would be all the payoff. I'm happy to say that Cataclysm is all payoff, from not only Convergence, but also Path of Deceit and the Battle of Jedha audio drama. From the very first pages, I was nodding my head thinking, oh yeah, this is more like the High Republic I'm used to. Light of the Jedi kicked everything off with The Great Disaster, this huge action-packed sequence that lasts for a third of the book and got me heavily invested in the characters. Cataclysm begins right before everyone on the war-torn planets Irem and Derono learns that the signing of their peace treaty failed on Jedha, and then boom, conflict, lots of action right from the start. Not only that, but something I enjoy about Phase 1 of the High Republic is that many of the stories follow several characters spread throughout the galaxy, and we take turns bouncing around between them. I love that structure, when stories start big and get smaller and smaller as storylines come together, and the way those storylines converge is so satisfying and also full of dread. If you read the Phase 1 books, you will have heard multiple mentions of the Night of Sorrows on Dalna. The Dalnan people are wary of joining the Republic, and they don't really like the Jedi, but we weren't told why. We just had that information that something bad happened back then. So as every character finds themselves drawn toward that planet, I found myself getting more and more tense, just waiting for disaster to strike, and when it finally does, I vividly remember the moment where I did not want to put the book down. I had to pause reading it to do a live stream, and I was genuinely stressed about it because I had to know what was going to happen next. I mentioned how the start of the book reminded me of Light of the Jedi, but that buildup of tension and explosion of violence also reminded me of The Rising Storm. Cataclysm is the first Wave 2 book that really felt like reading something from Phase 1 to me. That's not to disparage the Wave 1 books. I think there was simply an adjustment period. We had to meet a whole new cast of characters in a new time period, and I wanted to have an open mind, but I was also like, what's gonna happen to Bel Zettifar? Is Burry safe? Is he alright? I struggled to connect with the new cast a little bit. But then, all of a sudden, reading Cataclysm, that wasn't an issue anymore. I had met them all in Convergence. I spent more time with some of them in the Battle of Jedha and saw them survive catastrophe. I knew their relationships. All the legwork done by Zoraida Cordova in Convergence paid off well. Axel Greylark was my favorite part of that novel by far. He's still in Cataclysm, and I still like his character a lot, but every other character started to resonate with me more as well, which is great, but also terrible, because they're all in mortal danger for the bulk of the book. When that mysterious business on Dalna starts happening, it's just chaos, in a good way. Like in The Rising Storm, there's a tipping point in the attack on the Republic Fair where nothing can be controlled anymore. Pretty much the entire second half of Cataclysm swings between amazing moments of Jedi overcoming adversity to absolute terror dealing with the path of the open hand, and then back to fist-pumping hell yes moments. It is the definition of an emotional roller coaster. And the danger feels even more real because of the constraints of technology in this era of the Star Wars timeline. Ever since Star Wars Legends explored the Old Republic stories, it's been a bit of a joke that technology in Star Wars never really changes. The High Republic has mostly told us about how things are different. We've seen Republic Pathfinder teams setting up communication buoys and charting new hyperspace lanes in Quest for the Hidden City, but this is the first time I've felt like the technology of the time is a true limitation and a problem to be overcome. I thought that was a nice bit of very plot-relevant world building. I do have some questions and criticisms, and I'm about to discuss those, but simply as an engaging, entertaining, and emotional story, Cataclysm really worked for me. I didn't love it as much as Light of the Jedi or The Rising Storm, but those are two of my all-time favorite Star Wars books. I would easily place this book among the top tier of the High Republic books at least. Lydia Kang wrote a nail-biting Star Wars adventure full of terror, but also hope, victories, but also bittersweet victories. I love seeing some of the good things that happen in this book, but knowing where they will lead, not just in the future of the High Republic, but also the future of the Republic and the Jedi Order. Cataclysm feels so connected to, of course, the rest of Phase 2, but also what we know is coming, thanks to reading Phase 1. And that's where I want to start discussing the connected storytelling of the entire High Republic initiative. In Phase 1, I think you can get away with just reading the 3 adult novels and you'd get a pretty clear picture. In Phase 2, I might have felt lost in Cataclysm if I hadn't read Path of Deceit. The Path of the Open Hand wasn't super present in Convergence. We knew they were pulling some strings, but it wasn't exactly an introduction to the cult. Same with the Battle of Jeddah and even the comics. The Path is present, and we know they're dangerous, but I really think reading Path of Deceit is necessary for this phase, which isn't a problem for someone like me who is going to read everything they can get their hands on, but I could see someone who decided to just read Convergence and maybe listen to the Battle of Jeddah being a little lost, because I have some questions myself. There are still some things about the Path of the Open Hand that I don't think I'm fully understanding. There are characters who are not in this story, and I would really like to know their perspective and what they're up to. We still have Quest for Planet X and Path of Vengeance on the way, and I have faith that my questions will be answered in those books. So I guess these are questions and criticisms surrounding Phase 2 as a whole, and not so much Cataclysm, so I'm gonna wait and see how the rest of the stories play out, but I would be interested to see the point of view of anyone who has just been reading the adult novels. Setting aside my larger, big picture questions about the High Republic Phase 2, I had a blast reading Cataclysm. If I ever feel annoyed that I have to put a book down, I know it's doing something right. This is Lydia Kang's second Star Wars story and first Star Wars novel, and I hope she sticks around to write more. But that's it for today. I look forward to seeing what everyone else has to say about Cataclysm. If you want to check it out for yourself, consider picking it up for free on Audible. Just follow the link in the description or visit audibletrial.com/Star Wars Explained. You can pre-order the audiobook right now, and the production value on all the Star Wars books is very high with sound effects and music. It's like listening to a movie. Signing up for an Audible trial will get you a credit for one free book, and you can use it on Cataclysm or the other High Republic books or just about any Star Wars book you can think of. Or get any book you want. The point is, you get a free book, and you'll be supporting the channel when you do. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with all our High Republic coverage, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and consider checking out our Patreon page, where we'll be holding a book club meeting for Cataclysm a few weeks after its release. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.